Welcome back to our module on organization by natural design. What I'm going to talk about now is how we can start to integrate a number of these different pieces to create an organization of that kind. And we'll pull together some of the spiral dynamics issues and some of the core design processes that will help create a kind of macro level design for an organizational system. So if we take a look at this image, we can see the boundary here, the dotted blue line, we can imagine as being the boundary of the organization. Now, it is rooted in the context of a need in the world. And this is the most fundamental thing that's often forgotten. You come up with a great idea. The question is that really needed? So to be continually aware of what are the needs in the world, to be situating our organization in that context, not to get too insular and focused into our own identity, but to stay connected to the needs in the world. So when we got that clear, once we're rooted in the needs of the world, we can ask ourselves, what is our purpose then as an organization? Given that that's what's needed, how do we start to define our purpose? Begin to get a feeling for the vision, the missions, and the values that we talked about. Some of that high-level design that creates this organizational container within which we can start working together. Now, one of the key things that I've touched on around the spiral dynamics model before is this design question around the function that needs to be performed in the organization and how that matches to the value system. So I want to spend some time focusing on how we connect up these value systems, as we've seen in spiral dynamics, to functions in the organization. Because the key question we have to ask is, given a certain function in an organization, what's the best fitting value system to meet that function? So if we take a look at the image, we can see we've got these little different colored blobs, and they represent the value system. So we've got purple, and then red, and then blue, and then the orange, green, and yellow. Now, if you think about different functions in an organization, you may have, for example, the administration function. So administration is the department that really needs to have everything ordered and structured and know where everything is, be able to provide the financial reports, organize everything well. And if you think about it, that function is closest to the blue value system, the order-driven value system, the system that likes hierarchy, structure, place, order. So if you've got a department that is focused on the function of administration, then you're going to be looking to create a culture in that department that's most resonant with this blue order-driven value structure. So you imagine you walk into the department in your organization and it feels very clean, it's all nice and tidy, everything's filed away, you know where everything is. That's the kind of, you've got this feeling of everything here is really well organized. And therefore you're looking for people to fulfill that function who have a natural resonance with this blue value system. People who enjoy being in a structured environment like that, who love working with numbers, who love ordering stuff, filing it, putting it away, making sure that it's all perfect and structured and that they can provide a very clear and transparent report back to the organization. The last thing you want in that kind of department is your creative people who hate structure, but who much more want to be thinking up all sorts of new things and coming up with great ideas and being chaotic about it all. They're going to be very unhappy in that kind of environment. So find the value system that fits the function of the organization. Create the culture that's going to support that function and find the people that fit with it. Let's take sales, for example. Sales, where we're out there trying to sell the product. We're interested in getting more money into the system, having more customers, and there's a much more competitive edge to it, a much more energetic environment than, let's say, the more structured administration department. Well, when you walk into your sales department, it should feel completely different. It should feel racy. You probably got sales figures on the wall. Have we beaten last month's figures? How are we doing compared to our competitors? Much more of that kind of exciting, almost game-like environment. Play the game of selling our products. And the kind of people that you'll have in your sales department are likely to be much more resonant with this orange strive, drive, value system than, for example, the people in the administration department. Does it make them better than the others? No, it just makes them different and a better fit to that function. So you look to create a habitat in your organization that supports the sales function in the system and the people who are most resonant with that value system. So you can imagine walking into an organization, and rather than having a one-size-fits-all design to the organization, you have departments that feel quite different because the culture of those departments need to be different to fit the function of the system. Think of HR, human relations in the organization, the people, the people who are interested, who are working on training and learning and supporting the people in the organization. Well, that doesn't really match either the blue order-driven or the orange strive-drive value system. That's much more resonant with the green sensitive self. Those are the people who are naturally interested in other people, who want to involve people, who want to really include people. You walk into a green context where, let's say, your HR department is located, and it'll probably feel soft. There'll be couches in the corner, lots of plants. The last thing there'll be is sales figures on the wall. There'll be pictures of people on the wall. It'll feel very different. It'll feel like a much softer environment. And that's the kind of environment that the people will thrive in who are naturally good at working with people in human relations. So again, another kind of habitat to suit the function. But the core question we're asking every time is, what's the function that needs to be performed to serve the organization? And which value system best matches that function? And how do we create the culture? And how do we attract the right people? For yellow, it's much more the macro level design, probably a slightly cleaner, smarter environment, also interested in the other issues, but much more functionally driven. So you can see how we begin to think a little differently about how we design our organizations when we have this understanding of these different levels. There was a story when I was consulting with an IT company, and we were in a management meeting, and I guess the managers, they were really interested in more self-organizing groups. So these managers were naturally kind of located at the green, sensitive self system. They wanted people to be working together in these self-organizing groups and were frustrated that it wasn't happening. Now, these were managers who were working in a delivery department. This was a department who simply had to get data tapes delivered to clients back and forth, and there was nothing complex about it. Really, it was like work out which tapes are there, load them into the truck, deliver, and come back. And so when I asked them, which value system, because they were literate in the spiral dynamics model, which value system do you think best fits that function? They could see immediately that it was the blue value system. And suddenly it started to click. Aha, these people who are working here, who are naturally drawn to this function, simply need to be told what to do. That's what they like. They keep coming to us and saying, tell us what to do. And we're saying, self-organize into teams. And that doesn't fit their value system. They're wanting to be told what to do. That's their value system. And the managers suddenly realized that there was this difference between the value system which they had and the value system of the people. And there was a choice to be made. Either they needed to adapt and start leading in a way that matched the needs of the people and matched the function of the department, or they needed to move on to a department which more naturally resonated with their more human-centered, sensitive self value system. So you begin to get a feeling for how you can start to apply some of these concepts to your organizational design in a very natural way that meets people where they're at, that creates the habitats that naturally support the functions of the organization and enables people to thrive as who they are. The other thing that this being a developmental model brings in is an understanding that people are likely to start to move through these phases. If you're meeting people's needs at blue, they're in a lovely blue, order-driven, structured habitat, you may notice that some people start to get a little interested in more of the sales stuff, or they want a little bit more excitement in their lives in the accounting department. Now, when those signals start to come up, you'll know that they're beginning to shift from the blue center of gravity into this orange strive drive center. And they'll need to find a new habitat, a new role in the organization that helps them grow into their next stage of development. The same if you've got people in the sales department who are starting to get tired of all the speed and the fastness of it all and just want to be sitting down and having conversations and sharing more of their inner world and their feelings with each other. Well, it's time to get them out of sales because they're going to stop being effective in that context. But they will be very effective in HR, for example, or in other contexts. So it's easier to re-skill people on the surface to do a different task if they've got a natural values match with that function. So someone who's spent their life in sales, to move them to HR, we might think is, whoa, that's a really difficult thing to do. But if that's naturally where they're going in their developmental pathway, then actually it's not hard to teach them the skills. They'll pick them up because it's just their natural habitat. It's just their natural way of being. So this image enables us to begin to see how we can structure the organization in such a way that it honors the people for who they are, it aligns people and culture to the core functions that need to be performed, and enables the organization very naturally to serve its purpose and ultimately to meet its need in the world. So that's the end of this session. What we're going to do in the last session is just look at some other design principles that help an organization to stay dynamic and evolving in these times. But for now, that's some pieces, pulling some pieces together around how we start to match up our understanding of developmental levels and interior developments of people with concrete organizational design and structure.